this podcast. Bussin'.
Welcome to this.podcast. I'm your friendly host, Jay, joined by
did
my friends. Who you got, Co?
Man, what we talking about?
And we got Uncle Damo.
Hi, my name is Uncle Damo.
Welcome to this podcast. My name is Jay.
For the old switcheroo.
Absolutely. You can join us at, you can follow us on all major streaming platforms and video on YouTube. Shout out to the incredible Lawrence and Lammer for providing the space. You could catch them at lawrenceandlammer.com, or you could come to 3225 East Colfax Avenue. Jeez, I can't speak today. And I think that's it. It's a lovely day, y'all.
Man, lovely.
It is.
Yeah. How was
Windy.
windy? But the sun was out, like it always is, right? That's how Colorado is. The sun be out, but it could be snowing. It could be cold.
That's right.
It could be raining.
That's
it
right.
don't matter,
Sun
man.
be out.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Damo's well grounded. That wind ain't phased Damo at all. Boy, just
He
anchored.
didn't rock at all.
Just
did
I
he?
said I was anchored.
That's the advantage, man.
Man, what we talking about?
Hey, man. You know, I'm different. Hey, man.
That's funny.
That is.
Different attributes come.
I'll take
Hey,
it.
man, you
That's
got to
right.
get the pros and cons of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
We
yeah.
got to give you your
Right.
pros, man.
Yeah,
We
give you
can't
your
always
pros,
say the
too.
cons.
2 feet down, 10 toes down.
They
Right.
wind breaking.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man, I be looking like them floppy, what are those, like things at the car wash or at the
Oh, yeah.
used
Yeah.
car lots
Yeah.
and it flailing everywhere.
That's funny.
That's when I hold on to Damo.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
get us through this storm.
Find shelter.
Absolutely. But the voice you're hearing is a special guest. And we've been trying to get this man on the pod for a while. And we are happy that he's here.
Yeah,
He is a Denver mayoral candidate.
I am.
He is originally from Houston, but has joined Colorado since 12 years ago.
21 years.
21.
I've been in Denver, been in Colorado 21 years.
21 years. Oh, but this is
21
home
years.
now.
This is home.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
never going back to the hot place.
The
Nice.
hot place.
Yeah.
And then, he's running for Denver's mayor. Let's welcome Al Gardner to the show.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. We can't find our claps. We can't
but
find our
yes.
claps. We'll give the claps.
Give
Thank
it
you,
up.
gentlemen.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Oh,
It's
man.
been a while in the making.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we finally got it going and we're able to get our wires together because
Yeah.
it's been crossed for a minute. But
Well, you've been busy, man,
I
and
have.
rightfully so. So you're
I
a hard
have.
man to catch up with. So
I
it's not
have.
like I could just reach out.
Yeah.
You just can come on at any
man,
time.
this is probably the busiest I've been in a long time because I'm still working my day job.
Oh.
Got it.
Yeah, so I do that, and then I stop, and then I do some campaigning, and I go back and forth all day long.
So
Wow.
let's talk about
yeah,
that. I think-
absolutely.
yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
you were done.
Oh no, still
Okay.
working.
I thought you were done. Like,
No,
wow.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that?
yeah,
And
So-
before you do that,
yeah.
can you tell the listeners what you do? Do you
Exactly.
mind
Sure.
doing that?
yeah. I'm in IT. Been in IT. This is my 28th year. Going in my 29th year. So I'm in IT. I'm an executive now. So do more
Awesome, man.
IT
This
management and
podcast.
direction.
Bussin'.
So right now I'm the vice president and CIO at Salud Family Health, which is a healthcare center thing here in Colorado. We have about 16 different clinics.
Yeah.
And Salud has been around in this state for 54 years.
Got it.
Started out actually in Fort Lupton, Colorado, providing health care for migrant farm workers. And now we're the
Wow.
second largest in the city. So you have Denver Health, and then you have Salud. And
Gotcha.
so my day job is to handle all of the technology needs, direction, strategy, and budgeting for the healthcare organization.
That's awesome, man.
That
Yeah.
is.
That's awesome.
Y'all
This
see black
podcast.
executives
Bussin'.
in IT,
Yeah,
which
man.
is awesome.
Trying my best. We are 0.6% of IT here in this city.
Wow.
The CTA just had a study commission about 4 months ago, and that study came out with 0.6% in this state. So the state has boomed for technology, but it has not boomed for black technologists. And so we're
Got it.
light years behind.
Got it.
Yes.
Well, how many employees at your company? I'm curious.
They're around close to 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah, close to 1,000.
So nice size.
Nice
you know.
size.
Absolutely.
They're making strides. Right now, I'm the only black in management, but
We got to change that, right?
Oh man, but that's the same everywhere, and some people wear that as a badge of honor when they're the only one. With me, I don't like it. Makes me something's wrong here because here's two things. I know I'm not the smartest black man that ever darkened the door. I know that's number one.
Okay.
So we either have two things. Either we haven't focused on it and it hasn't been important, or I am the smartest person and I know it's not the latter.
Got it.
So, we got a lot of work to do.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, fast forwarding to Damo's question about how do you balance the two of being a VP in IT and running for mayor?
Yeah, man, still trying to figure it out very carefully. And it depends from day to day. I wish I had some formula I could say that I do this from 6 to 10. I don't. I try to balance it depending on what the day looks like. I try to make sure that when I'm given company time and doing my work, I'm dedicated to that. And then when I'm doing campaigning, I really want to dedicate to that. So I try to do, like, during the daytime, it's all work. Around 5, 6 o'clock, I try to schedule all my events later in the day, or I do forums and debates during lunch hour. So I make it work.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm burning a lot of miles on my car during this campaign.
And how long have you been juggling that?
It's been 3 months, 3.5 months.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You are running on fumes.
I'm
I
running
bet.
on fumes. Yeah, trust me. Because especially I hopped in the race a little late. So
Got it.
So Al, what did you learn about yourself over the past 3 months?
I learned that I was a lot more closed to people around me who were actually there to help me more than what I knew. So there are people around me that I never saw them as really kind of being really close to me or looking at me and seeing something in me that they admired or wanted to get behind. And I didn't really pay attention to it as much. And the people that I weren't really close to have become the people that I have counted on and have come through for me the most. And some of the folks that I'm around all the time, and I don't say it in a negative way, but some of the people, I couldn't count on them as much as a lot of the new people that have come into my life.
Got it.
And so and to me, I used to have a saying, I'm not taking no new applications. That means I got enough friends, I'm good, and it is what it is.
Absolutely.
And this has changed my perspective on that, to be open to new friendships and new connections more than I was before.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That is. And to piggyback on Damo's theme, tell us, since now you're balancing two different sectors, the public and the private, and things operate differently, some similarities, differences. You being a VP, what are the similarities that you draw from both, and then what are the differences of, like, you have to manage?
Let's say similarities. A lot of the similarities are in constantly thinking about where you want to go, strategy, direction, influencing people, working with various groups.
Keep talking.
Yeah, working with various groups who, you meet kind of tangentially on things, but not really eye to eye on things, but trying to find that commonality. So that's something I do in my day job a lot. That's a lot of the similarities. A lot of the differences. Some of the differences are this, and I found this out in politics. I work for the profit motive all my career. The whole goal is to make money. Now, given I'm working for a hospital system now, it's a little bit different, but still the goal is to provide a service. And in politics, you're doing the same thing, but to me, the motive should be to help people. It shouldn't have anything to do with money. And I'm learning how that bleeds into politics so much that that's the part that's been very annoying for me, and the part that I have to grapple with the most, you know.
How do you turn it off? Like,
Yeah,
like
that's
how
a
do you
great
turn that
question.
off? Like, yeah.
You know, in my heart, like, I've never tried to separate the two. Like, so from my point where I work with the community, that I work with young black technicians to bring them in, my heart has always been to expose people to opportunities that they weren't aware of. Because a lot of times we're not in spaces not because we don't want to be. We're in spaces because we very seldom sponsor each other and grab somebody, cuff them, and bring them in and make a spot for them.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been very easy to do my work and at the same time understand that the big picture here is actually to help somebody.
And
That's the driver for me.
Yeah, and the other part is that I believe is we didn't have access at a young age.
No,
So we didn't see Al growing up.
right.
You know, Al wasn't not
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
but Al wasn't visible to us to say that's what I want to be.
Right. And you know, you hear these stories about people coming up through the ranks. Well, here's the deal. They say, well, when he sat across from me, I saw myself in him.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I haven't sat across many desks where they're going to see themselves in me.
Yeah.
And so I try to go out of my way, especially when I see black folks, especially young black technologists trying to get in, is I do see myself in them. And I do want to make a way for them to get into this profession. And I think we have to do that in a way that we're not scared to say it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of folks, especially when you get to executive level, we're afraid to say that we're being intentional about bringing more blacks into the profession. And I make that a part of who I am when I go to companies, whether I'm, the company I just left, Inspirato, or others, they know I talk about it a lot. And
Why is that, Al?
because I never had anybody to sponsor me. I didn't have anybody that
this
said,
podcast, bussin',
I see
bussin'.
something in him that I want to, you end up
Blossom
getting you
almost.
get a sponsor, and people bring you up through the ladder. You find somebody, and that's what they do. They raise you up. Of course, obviously, there's been some times along my path where people have seen something, and I've been able to fight and get there.
Right.
But for me, man, I try to remember, when I graduated from high school, I graduated with 1.7
Where?
at Jack Yates.
Okay.
JY.
In the house.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
that boy went back on Houston real
hold
quick.
He did.
Debbie Allen,
Oh, yeah,
Felicia
yeah.
Rashad, Roland Martin. I can go on and on.
Yeah.
But, that place, 1.7, I wasn't supposed to go to college. I wasn't supposed to do a whole lot of these things. And so for me, I never forget the fact that I'm here by the grace of God. So I don't have the mindset like, well, you need to get up here to where I am. No.
Can I piggyback on that? Because I watched the mayoral debate that was at McCullough a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I appreciate how humble you are when because you've reached great heights. I mean, VP, like you said, that's the 0.06%, probably 1% in general. But then to be black and do that, even slimmer. What I appreciate and I could relate to, because I come from the same background, I'm also in IT or software engineering.
Nice.
When you were asked certain questions, you weren't afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I need more information.
Yes.
And then, those kind of things as we answer these questions.
Right.
Why are you, because maybe as a politician, I'm not one.
Sure.
But that might be the opposite thing you should do, because then people are like, oh, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing kind of thing. What makes you so confident to be like, no, we can work together on this. I need data in order to solve this, etc.
I think there are two things, and I'll go to this one first. I think overall we have become a lazy electorate, just in general in America, right? So we are the type of electorate that we want our politicians to tell us what they're going to do so we don't have to think about it. If you talk to most people about the issues and what they want, they can't really go into the issues much, but what they can tell you is what the politician told them, and they'll say, oh, I like what he or she said. So I think part of that, then it feeds the politician to be able to want to come up with solutions, even if he or she knows that he can't or she can't fulfill them. They know that the electorate wants to hear a plan. Yeah. And so we spit out these plans that we think people want to hear. That's the first. Okay. And then the second thing, I think, is we have sometimes a natural fear of coming off as not as informed when we say, I don't know, or I need more information. And it's kind of a visceral thing where we're afraid to or don't want to come off looking as if we're ignorant to a certain subject.
Or weak.
Or weak,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain amount of power
100%
in just being honest with people, because when I first made that statement, I've heard things on both sides. Oh, you should have said it, you should have said it, you should have said it. I said, well, it's the true statement, right? Yeah. I don't know. And I just have to be comfortable with saying that. And I've been comfortable saying that throughout my career. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, like real quick, like in terms of, and you said that with housing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because, you know, because when I saw the statement being made, it was kind of like one of those, it felt like they throw that out there, saying no housing is something, it's a difficult hot button issue here in Denver. Mm-hmm. And when the question went out there, you said, you know what? I don't know. Yeah. And it kind of diffused it. You know what I mean? It kind of like I don't even think this certain interviewer knew how to respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree, because the funny thing is that the city actually has a lot of programs, man. And I say this a lot. A lot of people are quick to kind of jump on what Hancock hasn't done. But when you really dig beneath the surface and you really start to look at these programs, it's really a lot going on. So then you have to step back and say, well, is it that we haven't done enough? Or is that we need to refine the program that we have in order for folks to, A, know that it exists, number two, try to improve on it from a fiscal perspective or a communication perspective. And that's the point that I was coming from. Like, no, we don't. These are great ideas. You know, like Johnston mentioned the fact that, you know, we do it in 4 years. And he referenced Houston, which Houston has decreased homelessness by 60%. Now, that's a true statement. Yeah. But let's talk about how long that took. That was from 2011 to 2023. That's a 12-year deal. That's not a 4-year deal. So you talking about that and saying you're going to do it, to me, that's kind of a misrepresentation. And I'm not, you know, dogging on him. I'm just saying it's just not honest. And I think it's, as a voter all my life, I'm personally tired of hearing people say they have the answer and questions things that really you don't know. Yeah,
and Al, I think that's heavy. I personally am one of the people who find power in saying I don't know. Yeah. Just in my job. Yeah. I'm looked as the subject matter expert, and there's been several times I'm like, look, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you, because I deal in diversity, equity, and inclusion. You deal with very sensitive topics, from compliance to, you know, like there's a list of things I could go through, and you have to be really careful. So, like, saying I don't know is better than giving people information, and then it spreads like wildfire, and it comes back on.
That's right. I mean, I even try to tell the folks that work with the engineers, software support, you name it. I tell people, be very comfortable with admitting your mistake or saying you don't know. Now, I don't have a problem with you saying you don't know right then. What I do have a problem with, if you continue to say, now, if you don't know, that's fine, but go back and get the information.
And bring it back.
And then come back and produce something. Right. And so I don't believe in managing through fear, where people are always afraid to come in and say, I don't know what happened, or, man, this is new, or I messed up. No, that's fine, as long as you know to go get the information and come back and fix it, you know, so.
But that's the trick, you know what, but so I know, but Jay said earlier, you know, we was talking about how the private sector and the public sector. Now, the public sector is going to be a lot of that, because you're dealing with people, and people want the right answer. But it's hard to get the right answer when dealing with people.
There's
because
no
it's
right
not
answer.
because it's not transactional.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
And it's something that's it's fluid.
That's right.
And let's talk about how, if you are elected mayor, like that adjustment. Yeah. To come from the corporate world to now come in this public space.
Yeah. And I guess how I've been kind of groomed for this is what I've been doing in the public space already with Citizens Oversight Board, with Civil Service Commission, with African American Commission. So I've been working in the city for about almost a dozen years now. And so when you talk about Citizens Oversight Board, you talk about the board where the independent monitor reports to the Citizens Oversight Board. Citizen Oversight Board makes sure that the independent monitor is doing what they're supposed to do. What you find out in a lot of these forums, because we had a forum once a quarter with Citizens Oversight Board, and we had to take questions from the public. Yeah. And as chairman, that was my job as board chair. You listen to them, you take it in, and people were upset, they were angry. So I learned how to process taking in a lot of information, not necessarily hearing the tone, but looking for the gap. You know, they say gap analysis is big. So I'm hearing what you're saying, and in my mind, I'm tying what we're doing, and I'm looking for the space in there that exists, like, this is what's aggravating them. And so it's kind of seasoned me to be prepared to listen to a lot of feedback, people not understanding. The whole time they're angry, I'm listening to, thank you. Yeah. That's what I needed to hear. So
no, that's great, because I think what's unique about you that you are now finding out about the public sector, and I'm sure you've dabbled in there prior to running for this candidacy. I do think that there needs to be a change as far as how, because I bet at a VP level, I've never been there, but you're thinking, how can I build teams, empower people to solve the issues, right? Like to Damo's point, you're at a high level where you might not be the subject matter expert,
right?
But you know how to put people in places, get them to work together, and build the team building to solve those issues.
That's right.
Which I think I like that dynamic. Again, I'm in the industry with y'all, so I like it.
Because it becomes like a high trust environment, right? Like I like high trust.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I don't, and I tell employees, if you have a problem with each other,
talk it out.
If you're coming to me first, that's a problem. Because the first thing I'm going to ask is, have you talked to X? And Absolutely. If you hadn't had that conversation, unless it's something where, the person's hostile or something, then, but otherwise, talk to them.
Absolutely.
And after that, we're going to come together. We'll try to find a solution. And I think part of the public sphere is what I find. It's a lot of fear work, right? Everybody's working off. The currency is not trust in politics.
What is it?
It's an illusion. Yeah. It's an illusion of trust.
It's the illusion of trust. Yeah. And really, the currency is the next rung. It's the actual visualization of someone being powerful. Its power is the currency.
It's like a quid pro quo.
It's a quid pro quo.
Like, what can you do for me? I'll do something for you, but what can you do for me?
What can you do for me?
No, I'm with you.
And I think we've laid down for that. We've just laid down and taken that. I've had so many people tell me that's the way politics is.
Oh, you cooking.
And I refuse to believe that that's it. And I think you can change it.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
In a small space. You can't change it macro.
Yeah.
But
No, absolutely.
So we know it's crawfish season in Houston. So
yes, it is.
Hey, you said it's cooking over there.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, when you talked about the dynamics of politics and the perception of like the power dynamics or whatnot. One thing that I think is the public sector, like the people, one thing that they don't understand is perspective. And what I mean by that is step outside of your body and build empathy for someone else in another place. So they're so attached to what is Al going to do as a leader for me versus what is he going to do for the masses.
Right.
And they don't have perspective and they don't have empathy.
Right.
They being the people.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, we can go to the incident that happened at East. Unfortunately, and you watch the mayor and the police chief go out there and stood there and take questions and stuff from these rightfully angry and frustrated parents
and kids.
Now, here's the deal. The mayor has no control over DPS board. The mayor is not the one that called the police SROs to be removed. that was not him, and that was not the police chief.
It was a lack of funding by the people.
And it was the board responding to what they felt that the climate was at that time and made what I feel is a knee-jerk reaction versus a calculated move into how will we phase them out, or let's take a look at the numbers. How do we address how the SROs are disproportionately handling children of color? There's a lot of ways to peel that onion, but we acted quickly because they saw something.
But it used to be more. It used to be more slow and deliberate and calculated. But we're in such a polarized climate to where everything is knee jerk.
Everything is
microwave.
knee-jerk. Yeah, and if you don't, then you're seen as not being reactive.
Absolutely.
But I think part of it is leaders really saying, okay, I understand how you feel. This is why we're not going to remove the SROs, but this doesn't mean the SROs won't be removed because we haven't done this. We need about 30 to 60 days. We need to look at the trend data. We need to understand what's going on, and then we need to come back with a solution. But if we just pull them out, we don't know what type of ramifications will happen. And you just have to allow people to talk at that
talk
point.
through that.
What if they would have done A/B testing, right? You know, hey, these schools have, like, you know, depending on like the school, you have SROs, they don't have SROs. The data like is similar into like things that are happening at the school,
right?
And let's see what happens. And SRO, just for the audience, SROs are student resource officers.
Sorry, yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's the trick in terms of understand. Like, the hard part is when you come from corporate and you go to public, how do you build the wherewithal to not succumb to the pressure? Because at a corporate level, it's like, we got time, or we're waiting on the data.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a little different. You're
In
right.
the public space, you got 9 News Investigates.
Yeah.
You got the public.
Sure.
You got other political forces pushing and pulling, and having that stiff back to say, I'm standing pat on this one until I get more info.
3 things. I think first you have to realize it's going to take time to build that currency of trust, and you have to be okay with that. That means the decision I make today, people may not be on board, but 60, 90 days when they are a year, when they see things are better, you start to build that trust. Like, okay, he's not so quick to pull the trigger, but we see that when he does pull back, stuff starts to happen. So that's number one. I think the second thing is that you have to come to it. How did Samuel L. Jackson say at that time? He said he came to Hollywood a grown man.
He did, in his 40s.
Yeah, so Hollywood didn't make him a grown man. He was one when he got there. And I think part of it is a lot of times we come into these spaces not really secure sometimes in who we are, because here's the deal. If you know your why and you come into it with your why, then it doesn't matter. I get it. You're going to be angry. I get it. You don't like it. I get it. You don't trust it. I get it. This is not helping you. But I'm here because I want to do this and I know my why.
That's great. I don't know if you
Just
read
my
the
honest
book
answer.
Start With Why with Simon Sinek.
I've heard of it, but haven't
that's
done
the
it.
same
Yeah,
kind
I
of
haven't
concept.
read it yet.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know.
Sound like a true leader.
And,
right
and
there.
he talks about intrinsic and intrinsic and extrinsic motivations too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think people respond to that. I honestly do, man. I honestly think people.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear.
No, so I'm gonna give an example. Why should an extra $50 motivate somebody to do better?
It's not.
Yeah. Why would a pat on the back make somebody want to do better versus you're doing better because you want to do better?
I'm not opposed to that, and I'll let you go
No,
ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
say.
No.
I'll refer to, was it Maslow's law of hierarchical needs?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it depends on how you're coming into the
we go.
situation, whether
Okay.
the $50 of the pat works.
I like that.
And it's up to the
That's
leader
fair.
to try and discern what the motivation is. Now, the $50 might motivate somebody who's not making enough money to pay their bills. So for them,
Cost
the $50, it could be the same as a pat on the back. And kind of that's the way I see it. And that's the part of a leader to really try and discern as best we can as humans where that need is.
And I think that goes to your whole trust factor in building relationships, right? Of like knowing what the motivators are.
I think trust.
That's a good point.
I think trust. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good, man.
I think trust is what motivation is. Like if I trust you as my leader, I'm gonna do whatever it is. I'm gonna pick up the phone 1 a.m. You know, but if you just give me $50 and say, take this call 1 a.m., you be like, man,
okay, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? But like, if you have that trust, and this is what I didn't finish up. If you have that trust, I think you'll run through this glass and walls for people.
That's right.
Absolutely.
People will work. I've never really asked people to work late, and to work overtime, and to work more. I typically have to stop them. Have to stop.
No, that's how it should be.
God honest truth, man. If I had folks who are working with me right now and have worked with me in the past, they work harder, and I have to tell them to stop. Because here's the deal. I find out where you want to be in your career. I like to say I'm not into retention. And I tell people that when they first come in. Like, what do you mean? I don't want you to stay here 5-10 years, especially if you're Tech 1, Tech 2.
Whatever it is.
What do you need to help you move on? What do you want to become? And I try to pour money into whatever they want to become, put them on projects, you name it. And people, that motivates them. It's like, man,
absolutely.
Now,
this person
now
cares.
we're cooking.
Absolutely.
You know, and they'll work overtime, you know.
Yeah. And it might, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I'm going to reference somebody that may not be from popular to reference. Donald Trump.
Okay.
I have a theory about why he is so liked by his following. Donald Trump, for all he is and all he isn't, came in and said he was going to do some things that he absolutely did. We look at our Supreme Court. The Supreme Court looks exactly like he wanted it to look.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
Delivering does a whole lot.
Immigration issues, like he was pushing that hard and got far with it.
I'm not a Trump supporter, make that clear, but I have to just see.
But it works, right? No, I like what you're saying because that's how that touched home with me because that's how I talk to my engineers or people that work for me is that I'm here. Of course, we would love you to stay as long as you would like to stay, but I'm here to get you to the next level.
That's right.
Right? I'm not here to pigeonhole you into my company. What can we do to have a marriage of make you help reach your goals and at the same time reach company goals?
Yeah.
Right? Like it should be a perfect marriage.
But that's what I'm saying. In public life, especially managing
public
and
is a little bit
running
different,
city,
right? That's different.
You're talking about retention. And they're looking at the mayor. What is the mayor doing within the city to retain city workers?
Yeah, and
so that's the different. Like that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like, so real quick, Cole, because this plays into, and I'll let you finish, is that you're absolutely right. Because when you're doing the private sector, you're playing with different dollars, different pay structure, etc. When you're dealing with federal, a lot of red tape when it comes to things like that. So
but the pat on the back works. You know, like managing, like, so now we're kind of shifting a little bit, but, you know, being part of the mayor is not only, you know, meeting the needs of the people, but you're also the CEO of a workforce.
That's right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you know, they're looking to the mayor for leadership, right? And the structure's different. Like, hey, it's like, like I want to help you move up, but how can I help you move up when the person above you is 35 years old and probably ain't leaving that position in the next 15, 20 years.
Well,
you know what I mean? So it's just different. And that's the only thing I'm trying to point out.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely
especially
right.
for Al, like just trying to see kind of, you know, and the cool thing about it is that, but you're coming in like, yo, I'm not an expert. You know what I mean? I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to experience and then make my judgments off of that, which is how real life works, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
But when you shift from private to public, it's just them little nuances that are different. You know what I mean?
100.
And I think someone like Trump found that out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, yeah. And while there are a lot of differences, I won't even tie them into, let's just decouple corporate and public, right? Let's look at it from a perspective as what do people need in order to move things forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so part of the way that I see this is, okay, I can't bring in every principle from corporate into here, and I don't want to try to. But what I do want to bring over here is that how do people function? How do you get them to move forward? And how do you get them to take a stake in what it is that they're doing, right? Part of it is, I know that the mayor, there are 11,000 employees here in the city of Denver, right? So you can't go visit every department.
Yes.
But I do think at some level, you have to be visible and you have to pay attention. And I get it. And I think for a long time, public has been on just autopilot.
Yeah, it has.
And we just kind of allow things to happen. So
For a long time, it's been on
for a long
autopilot.
time.
It has.
Yeah.
So getting to some of the Denver issues, because I do want to get your thoughts on those. So as far as, the homelessness crisis, affordable housing, and we'll start with homelessness, what are your thoughts about it? And how would you go about solving it? Like, what would be steps you would think about of prevention of homelessness?
Yeah, first of all, I have to understand that the homeless issue has been an issue for a long time, even before it became popular, right?
Right.
So people, for whatever reason, because of the human condition, we are going to always have folks with us who are unhoused for one reason or the other. That's the first thing that we have to accept. Now, would we want everyone in the house? Absolutely. But what does history tell us, even before we started recording it? That's nirvana. That's where we want to be, right? So the first thing is, we want to get them housed. So how do we move them from a space and place where they're comfortable or okay on the street or however into housing? I think we have to approach it in two ways. We have to look at building the affordable housing piece, which is creating population density. We have to look at putting building density toward public transit and enabling them to be able to go to work. And we have to create job functions so they can do that, which the city does have. Then there's that other end. How do we take care of the root cause? And the root cause, a lot of times, is a lot of other things. People think drugs and alcohol are the main reason why people are homeless. It's not true. I was talking to the CIO of Denver Rescue Mission a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, Al, here's the deal, man. 22% of folks that are homeless are chronically homeless. That means the rest of that percentage are folks that lost a job, lost their apartment, living in a car. It's transitional. Yeah. So we have to look at root cause, and root cause is more funding, better pay, upskilling people, things of that nature. So really pour the focus into that. And then at the same time, juggling two balls at once, making sure we try to create population or building density to be able to house them.
So, Al, just to clarify,
you got to speak into the mic.
22% of people do what?
Are chronically homeless.
Okay, so those are the people that say, I'm choosing.
Been homeless longer than a year is what they consider chronic.
Got it. That's helpful.
Got it.
Yeah, sorry. I should
and then
qualify those.
So if it's less than a year, it's not chronic.
Transitional. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
And one thing that I see is like homelessness has always existed in Denver as long as I've been here. It just seems like the pocket. It's like the redistribution of homelessness, and it's like, hey, you all need to go over there, and then there's like this pocket where it makes it just more visible. Yeah, like Skid Row. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then go to Aurora and go up under a bridge, and we're not gonna say nothing to you.
Because we almost, the way some folks talking. I don't want to make this about a candidate thing, but sometimes they want them to disappear.
No, I think the people want them to disappear.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's almost like I want you to be anywhere but in my sight.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's behavior that I can't change and no one can change. I can't change anyone's view on how they should understand to see humanity. Yeah. That I can't affect. Yeah. But what I can affect as mayor is how we respond to the pressure of those people, right? Mm-hmm. Which means you don't give in just because, like a kid that constantly is saying, I want this, I want that. Right. Just because you're saying you want people to disappear, they're not going to disappear. Yeah. And so we have to do what's best for these people in the condition and not because you're just tired of seeing them. And that may take a transition. That may take a while, but you have to lead from that perspective and not leading from the squeaky wheel perspective, but from how we're going to make the whole wagon work.
Because the squeaky wheel's the loudest, right?
It's the loudest.
Absolutely.
And we're drawn to it as humans.
Yeah.
So then transitioning from that to homelessness to affordable housing, because you did mention that, wages, have an opportunity to purchase affordable homes. There is the 2-0 ballot.
Yes.
In Park Hill, easement on the golf course. And there's a vote to lift that easement and either one. I'll let you explain it. I would like to hear your perspective on that. So what are your thoughts on 2-0? I don't want to lead the witness.
No problem.
No, absolutely.
Right. No worries. My thing is this, the judge, right now it's in court, and it's actually a judge's decision whether or not to move that easement or not. That's ultimately up to the judge.
And tell the listeners what's at stake when you lift the easement or if you keep it.
Sure. So if we keep the easement, if we vote no on 2-0, which I'm going to vote no, right? Okay. Which is for us not to remove the conservation easement and move along with the development. If not, there are two things. Some people say, well, it has to remain a golf course, which it doesn't have to remain a golf course, right? It can be developed into other things later. It just won't go forward with this current proposition that's there.
Got it. Right? So it doesn't have to be a golf course.
It doesn't have to be a golf course in perpetuity. We can develop it at another time. We can develop with the same developer that has to come back with better numbers potentially.
Okay.
So it's not the end of the world. And I've heard people say, I've even heard a councilwoman say this. Well, we may never have this chance again. That's not true. As long as there's money to be made, and long as there's land to be developed,
there's always a chance.
There is always a chance. So, the whole fear thing. So the judge decides that, right, along with us. So even if we all vote no not to move the easement and the judge votes on yes, or rules it a yes, the conservation easement is ruled to be moved unless we go back.
So real quick, do you think the reason why you're voting no, because what I heard is that it does not have to be a golf course and we can develop on it later. What's your thought in that if you don't want to vote yes?
The reason why I'm voting no is because I read over the community agreement plan. So there's a community agreement addendum that is almost like an agreement between the community and the developer. And it says that we will do this. Right now we're slated to have 25% of 3,125 homes overall in development. 25% has to be low or
affordable housing,
right? Out of that number, there are 300 units, 300 homes that can be sold below market, right? So if we take 625 as a whole number to say we're collecting 625 affordable housing units. Out of that, 300 of them, Al, you can go in there and buy, right? Out of 625, the rest of them you can rent, but you can't buy. Only 300 of them you can buy. So what are we saying? That's 300 housing units that 300 families will be able to buy, but they won't be able to, to me, it doesn't go far enough for people to be able to create wealth and to be able to do generational type wealth. 25% is like the minimum that we can do, almost, I feel like. And I think we should bump that number up, especially because of where we are right now in Denver. That number should be closer to around 30, 45. I would like to see almost half and half. I would bargain and push for the 50. We may not get the 50, but I think we need to do better than 25%, which leaves us with 600 houses.
Because
Gotcha.
I don't think it goes far enough.
50% would essentially be 1,500 units.
Say again?
So 50% would essentially be 1,500 units, or no?
Yeah, you'd have more. You double the amount of affordable homes, and then if we bump up the amount of that folks can buy, let's say if we can hit even 1,000 and do 500 to rent. Now we're really creating.
All right, I'm
He
sorry.
just throwing numbers out there.
I'm sorry, because now we're creating. Now we're creating wealth, right?
I got
now,
you.
even though in that it kind of limits what you can sell the house for in terms of how much you can make off of that house and all.
When you sell.
Right? And I think that agreement, if I remember correctly, is for 99 years. So, then you really start looking at people having stable housing and really kind of, stabilizing the neighborhoods around it. I just don't think it goes far enough.
Okay.
No, that makes
That's
perfect
my
sense.
no.
Yeah.
Not because I'm against development, because development has to happen.
Okay.
Got it.
I don't think anybody wants it to just sit there.
Yeah.
And
Got
I
it.
definitely don't.
But you're just saying the percentage should go up.
I
You're
think we
not
need
in
a higher-
agreement with the percentage.
I'm not in percentage with the agreement, and
But
I think we can do better.
it falls into your thought process with everything. Like, let's take a little more time.
Yeah, let's not. I think the problem that we have is so severe, and if we don't stop it right now, then we'll be in a worse shape 10 years from now. So yeah, we'll have a King Supers over there potentially, and we'll have a sports thing, and we'll have. I think you can build a 3, 5, I think, and up to a 12-story building. So we'll have developments over there. We'll have low-income families, but are we really moving the needle? We're really moving the needle temporarily, but are we moving it for our children, our grandchildren? That's what I take it back to, and I'm not satisfied that we are.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways that you can, and so it goes back to what I said before. It's about perspective, and when you talk about development, one may argue the jobs that it's going to create to develop that land, and what that can do to the economics long term.
Sure.
What would you say about that?
Right now, we have more jobs than we have people almost. We're struggling right now to fill jobs with skilled people. So that says to me then that the urgency is in how do we skill people up to be able to take these jobs that are open now. The urgency is getting people into training programs now. That's the urgent thing, to get people to the jobs that are open now, right? If we get them there first, then you start developing. That's just icing on the cake. But right now, the problem is not, we're at around, 4%, 5% unemployment in this city. So almost very low unemployment.
Relative to the country.
Relative to the country. And we struggle to
Right.
find people who are skilled. And I think the city needs to focus more on coming hand in hand with different corporations, job training facilities. How do we get more electricians? How do we get more carpenters?
Yep.
I see so many guys, it's almost like if you don't go to college, you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Al, I would love to tap into that. We have a really good friend who runs a glass business, and it's labor, and it's in that GC general contractor. What's the word that I'm looking for?
I know it. I think that's it. General
No,
contractor.
but he's a glass worker,
Right.
Yep.
and he has such a hard time finding quality people. And I think there's a bigger societal problem of I don't want to do that because this is what I'm perceived as. I can go on TikTok and try to get a whole bunch of followers
Yeah.
and try to spend time doing that versus
Right.
building a skill that will essentially artificial intelligence cannot take over glass work.
Right. It's such a sham
Yeah.
because when you look at countries like Germany,
Yeah.
Germany has 2 paths that you can take in high school.
Vocational
There you go.
Yep.
Vocational, and 70%
or higher education. Yes.
Yeah, and over 60, between 65 and 70, I don't remember the exact percentage, but I know it's not lower than 60, choose vocational. They end up working for Audi. They end up working for BMW. and they pay their workers almost 5 to 8 times higher
than the people that went the other way.
Than the people went the other way because you have such a skilled workforce. We've done the opposite thing.
That's
dude.
That's Courtney's. He has family members that definitely went that route because I worked with them at Lockheed, and it was like a trade versus the higher education, and definitely successful businessman, like all that stuff, and you can do it.
I left Wiley. I was a junior going into my senior year. At the time, I was engaged to my wife, my former wife, and we got pregnant. I can say we. I don't.
You was with child.
She got pregnant. No,
if y'all was practicing together.
Hey, no, y'all were practicing.
That's right.
Y'all was practicing, and we got pregnant.
If you were with somebody, no, it wasn't just her. No,
how hard was it, Al?
Yeah,
man, how hard? Yeah. How much weight you gained, man?
Yeah, we were talking about it, man. So I left school, and I started working for an electrical contractor.
Wow.
I was an electrical helper. I worked through International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I was like, what am I going to do? I was majoring in mass communications, and I was like working on the radio at night at a gospel station, Gospel 1360 in Houston, Texas.
Got it.
And I was making like $4 an hour, so it was like I need something else. Went to start working as an electrical helper at IBEW, and that started training me to do electrical work. Now, from the electrical work, I ended up going in IT, went back to school, got my degrees. But that was a trade, and that's when I became like, man, I actually wanted to be an electrician after a couple years, and then I was like, I don't know if I can make much impact. But I think it's a good path that we don't explore.
Absolutely is.
I think it's an outstanding path, and just because it's so scarce, and it's gonna get worse.
There's great money in it.
Yeah.
Great benefits, but we don't stress it.
But just think about this, Al, real quick, not to keep hammering down on it. So electricians, a lot of them are older right now. I'm just going to use electricians as an example and a talking point. A lot of electricians are older, especially like your principal electricians. I don't know what the nomenclature is called.
Journeyman.
Journeyman, yes. Yeah. So they're highly, highly skilled, and they're looking for apprentices, and they can't find them.
They can't find them.
So what's going to happen is this field is going to like almost become dead, for lack of better words. And and I thought that was somebody that we knew at the door. But this field is going to become dead at a certain point. And when the field becomes dead, guess what happens? The pricing goes up.
Does.
And so now you're an electrician making $250,000 a year because nobody else wanted to do it.
That's
and doesn't have the skills that you have.
That's right. And you know what also is going to hit that? We have people that come to this country looking for opportunity and chance.
There you go.
And I don't knock them one bit.
Me either.
Because that's a huge opportunity, and they're going to fill those gaps as they should, and I don't have a problem with it.
If we're not going to do it.
If we're not going to do it, God bless them, and that's actually what you should be doing. So those two things, Dame, from my perspective, man,
Love
you're
it,
right.
man. Love it.
This
Absolutely.
podcast.
So real quick, we have this game called This or That.
Okay. Whoa.
Oh, you want to get into something?
No, but honestly, before we go into this or that,
Yep.
I did want to talk about your perspective on policing. If we can hit that and then go.
No, absolutely, we could do that.
But I know kind of offline, we were kind of talking about some of your perspectives, especially around age limits for police officers. Let's dig into that.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts around, one, age limits, two, education for police officers?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and I'm big on raising the age limit. I would love to see, like I said earlier, 30.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say 30 is because, the maturation sometimes level of different individuals, it kind of fluctuates. And I think 30, you're getting a little bit more close. You have a little bit more life experience. You've been around more people. I think 21 is a really young age. I don't think you've been exposed to much. And you're asking folks who haven't been exposed to many different types of people to now go out in the public and deal with all of these different types of people that they've never even been around, right? Essentially, you've come from high school to a job or high school to college, and now you're actually on the street dealing with people from many different areas.
And you're armed.
And you're armed, which to me is huge because, and I said this earlier, when you are a cop on the street, that's a lot of power. A lot. You're not supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner, but you could very well be put in a situation where 100%. You are just that.
Yes.
And to ask, I know at 21, I was 21, I was married and a father. But for most people, you're not going to have, even at 21 with all that I had going on, I would feel I was ready to be able to handle that. So that's the first reason why I think that. The second thing, when it comes to education, I think we're dealing with a much more educated society. Whether you have a degree or not, people are much more aware, and the information is all in their hands.
They have access.
Access to information on a level that we didn't have 200, what was it? I think it was it Boyle's law, which is not Boyle's law. There is a law in policing that was written almost 200 years ago, and that's kind of the law that police follow. Yeah. We're not in that same space anymore, and I think you're dealing with a more educated society, and I think because of that, you have to move the needle and educate the police. And I think at the bare minimum, it needs to be an associate's degree to kind of make you aware of law, interaction, psychology, and kind of get you rounded
Cultural
out. Awareness, all of that stuff.
You know what's crazy? What I think, and Courtney, that's such a powerful question, man. One of the things that I think about, number one, is who was I when I was 21?
Right.
I was fucking dumb.
Right.
In retrospect, I was dumb. That's my 44-year-old self saying that now. And for me to be able to handle a weapon in conflict and critical situations and having to act on impulsive decisions, I didn't have that
Think
wherewithal.
about how malleable we were at 21.
Yes.
We're still learning, man.
Yeah. I mean, God willing, I'll be 50 in a couple of years or a year or so. And you know what? Think how malleable we are.
Yes.
Right? And so at 21, man, somebody can tell you something looks good or you like this. You're quick to do it. Putting on that uniform, I'm friends with a lot of cops. And I can tell you that I have some friends that are not as mature and others are. So putting on the uniform does not change
that.
who you are, the construct of who you are. It just adds another dimension.
Yeah. One other thing I'll put behind it, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not anti-police by any means.
No, absolutely not.
But yeah, going back to
nothing. He wants to be a policeman.
And the 1-800 number.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Damn, I set myself up.
Boy, make a citizen arrested.
Boy,
make a citizen arrested in a second.
No, I learned to mind my own business, brother. I think about my daughter, she's about to be 20, and then I have a nephew who's 21, and I just think in a year would my daughter be able to handle the pressures of society being a police officer?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah.
I think about my nephew who's 21 now, and would he be able to handle the pressures of being a cop in this society? And the answer is no. Not because they're dumb.
Sure.
It's just a fact of all the things you talked about of access, awareness, and higher, more educated and aware society.
Right.
The answer is no.
We frightened people into believing that no one wants to be a cop. We're losing people. We can't keep them. We've talked about this so much. Nobody wants to be a cop. Everybody's leaving. Well, what's going on in policing is a correction. Policing hasn't changed dramatically in well over 100+ years.
So you're talking almost like the economy correcting.
Yeah, this is a correction. And if it means that for a while, yes, it may be more, we may take longer to bring people in, but ultimately it will be better because, and I don't think we're talking about 10 or 20 years. I think if we start making the correction now, I think we'll see. Policing can never go back to where it was.
No.
It will never go back to where it was. And we can't keep that mindset that it will go back and then base all of our decisions on that. We have to start preparing for how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's my perspective on it.
Yeah. And quickly, I don't think it should go back to what it was. Like, I think things always evolve, right?
Absolutely.
To your point. So, yeah, it's
that was good.
Tough situation.
Great question,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we got this game, This or That. Are you familiar with it?
No. Is it almost like Truth or Dare?
Kind of.
A little bit, but there's no consequences, right?
All right. No consequences.
We're not going to make you do anything erratic.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely. Because Damo will tell on us. If
Hey. They're over there
funny.
Hazing.
That's hilarious.
Hey,
which is
Al,
funny,
if
right?
that's
Because
the
he
case-
came from
Yeah,
that.
that's
He
the case,
came
I
from
would've been in
that.
trouble a long time ago.
You ain't lying.
You telling on yourself now. You
Yeah.
telling now.
That paddle, you still ain't told us how that go.
Omega Psi Phi is a non-hazing fraternity.
So this or that, you get to choose a one answer, no context, and there is no consequences. All right.
Oh,
so
boy.
welcome to
This
or
podcast,
that.
bussin'.
First question: red or blue?
Blue.
All right. TLC or Destiny's Child?
Why you dating this man like that?
TLC.
What you want me to throw out? Little Durk and
Thank you.
21
Yeah,
Savage.
because I want to know who you talking about. Really. So stay right there, brother.
Man, what are you talking about? Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac.
Damn. Okay.
Texans or Broncos?
Oh, I hate the Texans. So Broncos.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
NFL or NBA?
NBA.
All right. Peach cobbler or sweet potato pie?
Ooh. Now that is a question for the ages, man. Sweet potato pie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Rihanna or, we always ask this, Rihanna or Beyonce?
See.
That's hometown. One of them is hometown, man.
And one of them's from the island, mom.
From the island. That's right. I had to go with Beyonce because she's from H-Town.
Yeah. Okay. Are you going Will Smith or Chris Rock?
Will Smith.
Okay. Do you got Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson?
I don't really watch professional sports too much.
Oh, okay. No football.
So that one, my answer would be almost.
Do you watch NBA?
I say Hurts because he's the bruz.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a Q, so I gotta go with
so-
Is
Jalen
it?
Hurts.
Is it? I didn't know. I
So
didn't know that.
let me. Do you watch the NBA?
I watch it sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll take it. So the Joker or Embiid?
See, I don't even know who that is.
Joker for the Nuggets.
Oh, Jokic. Oh,
yeah,
Jokic.
Jokic.
Yeah.
Or
Jokic. Okay, yeah.
Nikolai
or
Jokic.
Embiid.
Oh, Jokic.
You would take him.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
good.
got
I
it.
watched him the other night. so
Yeah.
I know he's
You
good.
go ahead. All right.
Yeah.
Well, LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
Oh, LeBron.
All right.
Ooh, you said that with
Okay.
confidence.
Oh,
He
LeBron.
did. He said that.
I,
got one.
LeBron is much more of a rounded
Hey,
person.
says the man with Jordans on.
Yeah, no. I like his
That's how it
shoes, though.
goes. Yeah, that's how it goes. That's always the argument.
You didn't have to tell on
man.
that.
Go ahead, Cole.
Scarface or Pimp C?
Oh, Scarface.
Oh.
H-Town.
Hey,
you said
look
that
like
quickly.
You look like you'd be Scarface's family.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
No
for real.
BS.
No, for
Scarface.
real.
No
He
BS.
said, oh, no,
Absolutely.
Scarface.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Scarface.
He
man.
said, "Oh no, Scarface."
Really?
It got to be Scarface.
You for real look
Ghetto
like you
Boys
could
or
be his family.
Outcasts?
Oh, Ghetto Boys.
Over Outcast?
It's H-Town, man.
I know. I'm just I'm just
You ain't
putting
gonna
them
get
out
me
there
off-
for you.
Yeah, no.
Texas is different, man.
It is.
You gonna get me off that. I like Outkast, but it
Oh.
gotta be Ghetto Boys.
T.I. or Flip? It's Lil Flip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like T.I.
Yeah, I thought so.
That boy wavers. He wavers
You
when
knew he
it's,
couldn't go back
when
on
there's
that
an
one.
opportunity.
I'm all over the place, man.
Oh man, thanks for playing.
That's funny.
Oh man.
That was cool.
What else y'all got, man? We've been having so much fun with you, man. We got off through
been
the
great.
issues and
Yo,
things like that.
What's
Do
that
you-
time looking like?
Been great.
We are at an hour and 15.
Okay. Yeah.
You want to ask your question?
Yeah, man. Al, you know, one of the things we always.
It's only funny because I did exactly what you did last pod.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was like, in the spirit of Damo, did you have a good time?
Did you have a good time?
Man, I had a great time. I'm glad I did this. I'm glad you guys had me, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. We just try to create a platform for people
I love it.
in Denver and outside to like elevate their voice. And we appreciate you coming on and making it a priority on a Friday night. The next question I have for you is like, who would you recommend to come on the show?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know what, man? I got a friend of mine who is actually Denver police, who's actually one of the smartest guys I know, I think.
Okay.
And he's all over the place in terms of his politics, thoughts, and the otherwise, and would be very interesting.
He's like a firecracker, huh? When
Yeah,
it comes to
he
that.
is.
Got it. Okay.
He really is. He's
Okay.
a very right-wing guy, but he and I meet on a lot of other places in the middle. Yeah.
Shout him out. What's his name?
I will. Ramon Thomas, Sergeant. Ramon Thomas.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Coming for you.
I think you should, man.
Razor
definitely will not be bored. Trust me on
We
that.
coming after you,
Is he
Razor.
gonna walk in with a Blue Lives Matter flag?
Oh, no. It ain't that bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it ain't
All
that bad. But
Hey, with
he's
all
a-
respect to,
With all respect.
Yeah.
But he would love this, man. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And at his core, he's a good guy. But you will not be bored. Just know that I told you that.
Here we go. I love
Will
it.
be a challenge.
Hey, appreciate you, Al.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Definitely. Let's clap it up for Al.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
And-
what y'all are doing.
Appreciate it, man. And you never stumble upon the unexpected if you stick to the familiar. So go out there and build trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust.
And we out.
This podcast.